Okay, so I made my first part of the video, but then I ran out of hard drive space, and so I had to upload it real quick and make some room here. I need to get another memory card, like I've been saying, but I continue to procrastinate on it. I need to do that like tomorrow, probably. But anyway, get back to what I was saying. And so I met these two beautiful ladies at the Walmart, and one girl kept, they were shopping together, I guess, doing some grocery shopping, and they kept crossing my path, and I noticed them. You know what I mean? Two very, very beautiful young women crossing my path. I'm gonna notice you, and and with the one girl, uh, beautiful black sister. She walked past me. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We keep crossing, in front of you and stuff like that." I was like, "Oh no, it's not a problem at all." You know what I mean? Definitely not a problem. Cross me as many times as you want. I'm all for that. You know what I mean? And I say some stuff sometimes, but women like that bring it out of me. You know what I mean? There is that physical attraction that you know sometimes gets my mouth going. You know what I mean? And I start saying some stuff. Uh, but but there's more. There's more to you. And I was commenting on someone's video, and I was trying to say, hey, ladies, the men ain't coming after you anymore. Why do men refuse to come after you? Because we already know what's going to be. I already know what my bank account looks like. You know what I mean? And I already know what you're going to say. You know what I mean? And so a brother's not going to come and try to approach you, and he's gonna be like, "You're gonna have to take me out. You're gonna have to bake me some food. You're gonna have to take care of me." You know what I mean? And because a king has to be taken care of by his queens. You know what I mean? And uh, and so the but I was getting back to what I was saying. The modern culture of America has corrupted the minds and the values and the belief systems of both the men and the women. Both men and women, their minds are completely corrupted by a culture that's been raised on porn. You know what I mean? Us men, right? We're attracted to the girl who looks like the porn star. You know what I mean? Because that's what I grew up, you know what I mean, with the first streams of internet pornography. You know what I mean? And so that does something to the attraction of a man's mind, when he sees a woman. If you don't look a certain type, you know what I mean, like, a man's probably not going to even see you and acknowledge you exist. That's just a sad reality of where the mental state is at for us men. We have to have our minds delivered of the porn star attraction, you know what I mean, that we often experience. And likewise, I was commenting on some of these videos, and I was like, hey, women have also been raised on a generation of internet pornography, right? We these women want a man to look like a porn star. They want a man to have the money of the millionaire, and they want him to have the compassion, the caring, and the gentleness of a gentleman. What are the chances of you actually finding that type of man in this world, ladies? Slim. I'm not even sure that person even exists, to be honest with you, uh, because that's not how God typically functions. God don't typically pour out everything in a man's basket. You know what I mean? And say, "Here, I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you porn star looks. I'm going to give you the money of a billionaire. I'm going to give you the heart of a knight in shining armor." Like, and also these characteristics have to be cultivated in people, right? You know what I mean? Because you talk about looks, right? If you're not cultivating your physical health, you let your physical health go, you're gonna look like a Twinkie donut. You know what I mean? Like, this. Let's just be honest. If you neglect your physical appearance and your health, you know what I mean. You let those things go. Looks deteriorate. You have to care for yourself. You have to steward your health and your wellness. all throughout the continuum of life. And so, a woman who looks beautiful today, when you meet her, when you marry her, 10 years from now, what's she going to look like, bro? The beauty, as the scripture says, beauty is fleeting. It runs away. You got it when you're in your 20s and you're looking all beautiful and fresh, you know what I mean? And all the guys like, hey, baby, come here. Hey, let me talk to you. And I'm guilty of that too. I need to stop that. You know what I mean? Uh, Sometimes these girls, man, the eyes, you know what I mean, of a man. And you know what? Sadly, the women who have that beautiful, quiet, gentle spirit, they're often not the porn star. You know what I mean? The woman who has the beautiful spirit that you want to marry and spend your life with, oftentimes she don't look like, you know, the porn star. And so us men, we want the love and the kindness and gentleness and bake me cookies, be a good mom to my kids, rub my feet, you know what I mean, rub my back, love me a whole bunch because, we get, I got to be faithful to one of the first commandments God gave to me, be fruitful and multiply. I got to make a whole bunch of babies. You know what I mean? That's a God thing. I gotta be faithful in that. That's obedience. You know what I mean? But getting back to what I was saying, what was I saying? Our culture is sick. It's toxic. We have a corrupted culture that many of us have been raised in, and our value systems reflect that. You know what I mean? Women want a man with money. They're money grubbers. You know what I mean? And if you can't give them the money that they want, you have no value in their eyes. You know what I mean? And then when they get the money, they also want you to have the looks and the charm and all the things that come along with it. We have these really unrealistic expectations on both sides. Men, we got some unrealistic expectations of women. We expect them to be all hot porn stars. And I tell you what, the two girls I saw at Walmart, yeah, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was on that level. You know what I mean? And, you know, sadly, the woman who is going to nurture you, care for you, uh, have that heart of submission and quiet, gentle spirit. The kind of woman that you want to wake up to every single morning because she has a beautiful spirit inside of it. And she's your friend. She's your best friend. You know what I mean? That's who you want to spend your days with. I want to spend it with my best friend, that I just happen to love on every moment or every single day. You know what I mean? Like that's just one of the perks of having a woman, you know what I mean, by your side. She could be your friend and your lover at the same time, and your mama, and what else? Your nurse. You know what I mean? That is one of the beautiful things about finding a woman that is your best friend. She can be all those things for you. And looks change. A woman who's 300 pounds now and she has that beautiful spirit, it's time to hit that treadmill, baby. Let's go. Just give me 20 crunches. Let's get it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when you work on things, things appreciate. When you neglect things, they depreciate. You know what I mean? You and this is for the women out there. Many women focus on their physical looks because that's what get the guy's attention, and they never spend the time focusing on the beauty of their spirit and their soul. And that's the problem, because a man will be attracted to you for a night, but if you got an ugly spirit inside of you, he's out. You ain't ever gonna keep a man if you got a rotten, never happy, never satisfied spirit inside of you. And that's what a lot of women have to understand is, physical attraction, the way you look attracts a man to you. We like to look at pretty things. You like that? That's kind of our design. But we have to talk to you. We have to sleep next to you. You know what I mean? Like we need a beautiful spirit inside of you. We need our best friend that we hang out with and go on walks and go hiking and sharing life's adventures with and have fun with. You know what I mean? And love a whole bunch. You know what I mean? That's so the ladies, Yes, look good, look physically attractive, take care of yourself. Don't neglect, your, you know, the body, because when you neglect your body, it's gonna break down, and you're gonna be busted on the side of the road, and like the man's gonna look at you like you busted. You know what I mean? Like, just like us men, right? A lot of women look at us like, yeah, you busted, bro. I don't want nothing to do with you because you ain't taking your care of yourself physically, and your spirit is not right inside of you. You have to cultivate the growth and beauty of your spirit. You know what I mean? There's some angry ladies out there want to smack people. I was in jail the other day, and one dude was in there and he was talking about how his girlfriend was stabbing him. You know what I mean? She lied upon him. You know what I mean? And like, I think he had alluded to like he was getting charged with kidnapping. You know what I mean? And I think he kidnapped his girlfriend. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know how people talk in jail. You don't know if you're getting the truth or not. That people are just whitewashing it. You know what I mean? You don't know. But the reality is these relationships are busted. They need some spiritual deliverance. Women's spirits need to be delivered, or you ain't ever gonna have a right relationship with a man. A man's spirit has to be delivered, or he ain't gonna have ever a lasting relationship. I got some spiritual wounds on me from past relationships, women that have scarred me, and injured me. You know what I mean? There has to be healing that has to take place in a person's heart and soul, and also time and attention that's focused on cultivating my own spiritual beauty, and I focus on that a lot. I do, um, all my life actually. Um, so what I'm saying is, men and women both need to have their spirits delivered from a corrupt and toxic culture that has impacted our ability to have meaningful relationships with both men and women. You know, Men ain't chasing girls anymore. Why? Because we know how much is in our bank account, and we know how these girls think in modern culture. If we can't take you on trips around the world, take you gambling, take you out partying and drinking, you know what I mean, burn through a whole bunch of cash, getting you high, or buying you houses, cars, clothes, jewelry. Everybody wants a ring, right? You know what I mean? This is why brother's a love slave. I ain't got no money. You know what I mean? I got love. That's all I got. And my spirit that comes along with that. I know I'm a quality man.